Hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Shark Source podcast. I'm joined again by Shaden, and this is probably going to be our last podcast for a little bit. I know we did one just before free agency, and I'm sort of shooting for during the off season, about one a month. So this will be the July edition. So we got a lot to talk about. There was a ton that happened just in between the last show and this show. So our main topic for this is we're going to be talking about free agency and also the trades that happened in the off season. And that's pretty much it. I also want to briefly touch on of something a little bit different to what we normally do, but I sort of want to talk briefly about the Calgary arena situation that seems like it's just been resolved today. And then at the end, I have an announcement. I'm making a second channel for other stuff. So that'll come at the end. But first, we got to start off with free agency. There was a ton that happened. So I guess we'll just start with the biggest thing. So, Shaden, what was the biggest deal in your opinion this free agency?
Well, I think going to free agency, everyone was looking at Bobrovsky and Panarin, and I think we all knew for sure that Bobrovsky would go to Florida. And I think it was the day before free agency where we didn't know where Panarin was going to go. We needed Rangers and Islanders were in the mix. We knew certainly Florida was in the mix. Then it came out late, like right before July 1st hit, that Columbus made a last second offer. So it was basically we didn't know where Panarin was going to go, and obviously he went up to the Rangers and took less money there. But that situation was fun to watch because Panarin is a great elite player. He's a player that can really change a series if he wanted to, and he's gonna be great for the Rangers. They just added Kako. They just got Truba. Krasnov's coming in. And the Rangers do have something. I think this rebuild really accelerated for them. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're a dark horse to make the playoffs because both these changes and with all the young players they have, and of course adding a player like Panarin, that can make them a contender in my opinion. And Florida obviously gets the goaltender they needed. Reimer wasn't doing too well. Luongo's getting up there in age, so they brought in a stable starting goalie in Bobrovsky. And, the term is a bit much for 7 years. I think Bobrovsky's like 30, 31. So it is risky, but the first 3, 4 years, he's going to be great for them behind that core. And same thing with the Rangers. The Panthers are legitimate playoff contenders because they also added Seth Force and Connolly in our Charlie. They also added a decent defense to Strowman, who I think they overpaid for, but you add to the fact you still have Dadonov, Trocheck, Markov, Huberto, Hoffman, and Bertrand who had 20 goals. This team is young and they're talented, so I wouldn't be surprised if they got in the playoffs. But the East has really improved this year, so I'm not betting myself to make the playoffs, but they could. You never know.
Yeah, I would say we're not. I said before we're not going to get into predictions. I would say the Panthers are going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I'm having a tough time thinking of teams who for sure made it last year who won't make it again. So I would say that's the hard part for the Panthers, but I think they've improved enough to where they will make the playoffs. And like you mentioned earlier, I could totally see the Rangers as a dark horse playoff team. And I think everyone can admit that I would say after the Leafs, the Rangers have probably had the best rebuild I've seen in a long time. I mean, they in 2017, they were in the one series away from the conference finals, and they lost to the Senators in a pretty tough, 6-game series. I had actually predicted them to go to the finals that year, and then the next season, while they were still within reach of a playoff spot, they sent out that letter to their fans saying they were going to rebuild, and they've done a fantastic job. So Rangers fans should really look forward to the upcoming season. And yeah, and I think Panarin, I can see why he wants to be on that team, but I still think he could have. I think if he wanted to win a cup, he should have stayed with Columbus, him and Bobrovsky, because I think they were pretty close to a cup. Now I think Columbus is a lot further back that they've lost those two. So next big signing, a huge splash, Matt Duchene, 7 years, $8 million with the Preds. What are your thoughts on that steal of a deal?
Well, I think we all probably saw this coming. Nashville obviously traded Subban to get a guy with Duchesne now. I'm not too sure if Duchesne's the type of guy to win you a cup. Don't get me wrong, he's very good. But, the way Arvidsson, Forsberg, and Johansson have been playing together, that first line stay intact, so you have to move a guy like Turris out, which is kind of ironic that Duchesne, Turris were involved in that three-way trade, but I just you had to get him center, but I just don't see how Duchesne makes them that much better. And they depleted their defense core. I know Favreau's coming up and he's gonna be amazing, but honestly, I just still see Nashville just being this first, second round exit team that doesn't get home advantage because Duchesne adds another 50, 60 points, and 8 mil for me and my honest opinion is a bit too much. So they add another center to be harder to move out someone, but I don't think it makes them that much better though.
Yeah, I sort of disagree. I'll say why. He had he had 70 points in 73 games last year, and part of the season was with the Sens. So I think he will improve when he's on the Predators. I actually think that while maybe a few years ago 8 million would be too much for him, I think 8 million is actually a pretty good price for him based on what other players are getting paid. Panarin's a lot better than him, but based on what Panarin's getting paid, I feel like it's a pretty fair contract that he got with Nashville. And I just want to say that this signing, I think, proves once and for all. You see a lot of people, especially Leafs fans, who are dealing with a cap situation right now. They say that the NHL shouldn't have a salary cap and that we should do like the NBA or MLB with just a luxury tax. But this is exactly why we have a salary cap. If we didn't have a salary cap, Nashville could have signed Duchesne and kept PK Subban, and then they would have been even better. So instead, they had to trade Subban for less than what he's worth, and it ends up being a pretty, it's a more fair league as a result. So I think that was what.
Sorry, you keep going.
No, I'm done. Yeah, so it's a more fair league as a result, and that's why I like salary cap, a hard cap.
I would basically say the same thing about Cap because they had to trade a guy like JT Miller.
Exactly.
To try to re-sign a guy pretty quick who still isn't signed yet, and it's good that the NHL has a salary cap. I hate it sometimes, but you can't have these super teams, so go in the NHL.
Yeah, exactly. The Sharks probably could have kept Pavelski if it wasn't for a salary cap, but I think it makes the league more fair, so I support it. Speaking of Pavelski, let's talk about that contract. I'm absolutely I'm shocked at this contract. First of all, I don't blame Pavelski at all for leaving the Sharks. Even though I think he went to a team that was worse than the Sharks before that this offseason. I don't really think they're worse than the Sharks now, but I think they were worse than the Sharks before the offseason. I don't blame Pavelski because the Sharks gave the money that Pavelski deserved after he had a fantastic season and was an absolute warrior for them coming back in the playoffs after getting injured and being so clutch in Game 7 against the Avalanche. But then they refused to pay him, instead paying Karlsson. And I think if you've listened to this podcast or followed my page long enough, you know my thoughts on Karlsson. And I think this cap hit is a very nice cap hit for Dallas. 7 million. I think he's worth about that much. And I love the term. I was sort of thinking that the problem with the contract would be he would get a decent salary, but it would be a long-term deal. It's only 3 years. So I think that's perfect for Dallas. And of course for Pavelski, Texas, no income tax. So it's going to be, and just low taxes in general. So he'll get to keep a lot of that money.
And just think about Dallas that they had a decently good offseason. They lost, but they replaced with Pavelski, and they add Corey Curran, who they didn't have a bad season. We can still rebound the amount of talent Dallas has to do, and they added Zephyr, who, in my opinion, will be a good defense for them. Yeah, he was okay at Edmonton. He still was decent out there, and he was playing on two broken legs. So I think Dallas had an amazing offseason. And the way that they're one win away from the conference final, don't be surprised if Dallas, is a top playoff team in the West.
Yeah.
I honestly see it.
Yeah, I think they're going to have a great season, and it's about time. I mean, I think they've been underachieving for a while, so it's good that they can, improve. Now, I sort of want to also ask you because what do you think about Dallas bringing in former Oiler Sekera?
So, I've seen Sekera over the past 4 years. Yeah, 4 years, I want to say. You know, his first 2 years were great. He was a 30-point guy playing, I think, top line minutes. And in the playoffs, I think he was probably our best defensive besides Buffon. He's a veteran defenseman. And, he's just a playoff warrior. But, the Getzlaff, basically the Nia against him, broke his ACL, missed the first 6 months. Well, he was supposed to miss 6 months, but missed the full first 3 months of the season since he made you. Then when he came back, he didn't look the same. I think he only had, 8 points in 36 games, 0 goals. And, you can just tell he wasn't 100% healthy. Then he went to the World Championships. He looked fantastic there. Then last summer, and I remember this because I said this at the end of one of our podcasts, that he broke his ACL again. And the thing with Secker is that, he's reliable. He brings offense to the team. And, he's a guy in the roster that everyone loves. And if you're Edmonton, you need that type of guy. And, we need Cassie to bought him out. And even when Secker came back this year, he still looked decent, Yeah, he was 50% of the player he was a couple years ago, but you know what? He looked better than a guy like Chris Russell and Matt Benny in the lineup. But we bought him out to save some cap, and this is a great move by Dallas. It's cheap, and Dallas, in my opinion, needed another defenseman. I wouldn't want to play Polak every single night, so a guy like Sekera that can play on the power play in your bottom pair defense, and do well when you're playing 15 minutes a night is a great addition by Dallas. So I think Dallas had a great offseason. I think Terry could rebound if he's playing guys like Hintz, or he might get time on the power play. But Sekera's gonna be a great addition there. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just notches up 20 points in the bottom pair goal.
All right, we're now gonna go on to a few of the significant signings for the Sharks. So first of all, we lost Jonas Donskoy, 4 years, $3.9 million per to the Avalanche. I know, Shaden, you wanted the Oilers to go after Donskoy in free agency. What do you think about this contract for the Avs?
Honestly, I heard a Sharks fan told me that he has a lot of hot streaks and cold streaks. For the Avs, they have a ton of cap, so it's fine in that Donskoy's going to have all the top 6 minutes, probably very Kadri. But 3.9 is a bit too much. I like the term 4 years, but I would have liked something in 2.5 range. Because I know he had 37 points, but the fact that he has these streaks and that he can go on a long period without scoring be risky. But Dosco's a great player. I've seen him, of course, against the Sharks a lot of times. It's a good addition by the Avs, but just the price might be a bit too much.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I wanted the Sharks to keep him, but honestly, 4 years, I wouldn't have minded a 1 year deal at that cap hit or two, but 4 years at that, I just don't think he's proven. And he's older than you'd think, even though he was not I mean, I think he was pretty recently in the NHL, but he's actually 27 years old. So, honestly, at this age, I think you're too old to be still streaky like this. If he was 22, I wouldn't be as worried. I would say, yeah, but he's still developing. I think at this point he's sort of developed. So we'll see what happens in Colorado. I think he'll be in a good situation there. He'll get a lot more ice time than he did in San Jose. So I honestly think that for him, it's a good fit. For the team, a bit of an overpay, but we'll see. Next one I'm gonna move on to is the Meyer contract, and I just want to say it's a good deal, but it's not as insane as everyone's saying, and I'll tell you why. So Meyer had 30 goals over 30 or over 30 goals last year, and getting him at $6 million for 4 years is a really good deal. Now that said, and the term is great because it's 4 years and it brings him exactly 1 year away from being an unrestricted free agent. So he'll actually still be a restricted free agent at the end of the contract. But now, if I'm correct, the last year of his deal, he's getting paid in cash $10 million. Now, normally that wouldn't matter because the cap hit is an average. The reason that it matters is the qualifying offer in order to keep him as a free agent, I would believe would be $10 million. So in order to keep him as restricted free agent, when that contract ends, we would have to offer him at least a 1 year deal for $10 million. Now, I don't think that's a bad contract for how he's doing, and I hope we can give him a long-term extension. But the point is, that's where negotiations would start for the next contract. So while this contract isn't great, he has himself set up for the next one. And it's great for the Sharks.
And, speaking about great for the Sharks, of course, they re-signed LeBanc for a 1 year, $1 million deal. And that's just an incredible deal. LeBanc had an incredible season, 55 points, I believe. And the fact he got $1 million, that's a team-friendly, team loyalty deal. So, that just shocked me when it was announced.
Yeah, I was really happy about that deal, sort of actually. For this year, I think it's good. I do think if he has another season like last year, he'll demand a much bigger payday than if we'd given him a long-term contract this year. It would have been less than what we're going to have to give him next time. And I think the reason he agreed to a 1 year deal and we agreed to a 1 year deal is I think we're going to bring back Thornton and Marleau this year. They haven't signed yet, but I think we will sign them. And then they will probably both either retire or not be offered contracts from the Sharks next year, and LeBanc will get whatever they're getting paid and probably more money than that in his next deal. So I can see how it works out for both teams, but for this year it's a really nice contract, especially considering the fact that he had 56 points last year. The Sharks also re-signed Tim Heed for a 1 year contract, $960,000. I really like that deal. Tim Heed never really got a chance on the Sharks last year, so he didn't have consistent time. So this year it's sort of a put up or shut up year for Tim Heed. Now he is older than you'd think because he hasn't played in the NHL very long. He's 28. So hopefully, being able to play in the NHL, he can be a solid, sixth defenseman for us, and that's all we really need. Now we had some other contracts too. I'm trying to find them. Another player we signed, Dalton Prout, 1 year, $800,000. I really like this contract. A lot of people are sort of saying, "Oh, he's bad," but we have so many defensemen who only focus on offense and sort of neglect their defensive responsibilities. I would say Eric Carlson's an example of that. Burns even does that sometimes. Dalton Prout is really a solid defenseman. So I think that it was a good signing at a great price.
Okay. So, is Proud a two-way contract or one way?
I believe it's one way, but that's fine because I would say he's expected to be our play with Tim Heed on the bottom pairing. I don't think that Jacob Middleton is ready. I don't know if he has the talent to play on the Sharks, but also we had injuries last year, so if someone gets injured, Middleton would come up. He's still 23 years old, so I fully expect Prout to be, unless he's injured, I fully expect him to play 82 or at least most of the games on the big club. All right, so there's still a ton of more deals. This was a really good free agency. It's sort of hard to cover now because it's July 26th, so it's been a while since the actual day itself. I guess we can do some Oilers-specific ones. The Oilers got Mike Smith. What are your thoughts on that deal?
Well, it really depends what Mike Smith you're getting. For the first half of the season, Mike Smith was just terrible. Then, in the second half of the playoffs, he was really great. So, it really depends. And, Dave Tippett obviously knows him from Dallas and Arizona, so he knows Smith well, so, Smith could end up being our starting goalie by the end of the season. And I don't know what that means for Koskinen because that contract extension is pretty bad. Knowing that he was a 1-year pro and, he had okay stats even during that time when we signed that extension. So, I'm hoping Smith does well. I have no words about it because I need to see how he does in person. We needed a capable backup. Now we have basically two French starters. So I don't know if Smith's gonna get 41-41. If one goal is gonna play 50 games, I don't know. I still don't think Edmonton makes the playoffs. We made other sides like Granlund who might be decent. Archibald, but at the end of the day, these are big adds to the team. Besides one guy who we're gonna get to later. But I hope Smith does well, but I'm not too sure yet.
Yeah, I sort of. It's really confusing because when the Flames started him in the playoffs, I thought that was a huge mistake, and he proved everyone wrong. He was the only player who really stepped up for them in that series. So we'll see. And I think him and Koskinen could sort of be 1A, 1B throughout the season and, see what happens from there. One signing related to the Sharks I forgot to go over, Gustav Nyquist, $5.5 million, 4 years with the Blue Jackets. Honestly, I think the Blue Jackets are trying to compensate for losing Panarin and Bobrovsky and Duchesne and Dzingel, because I think this is a big overpay. He's shown promise, but he just really underperformed when he was in San Jose. So, I'm sure I would have liked to have him back, but honestly, at that price, I'm fine to see him walk.
But Dzingel didn't really do anything in Columbus, though.
Well, yeah, but
crash for games.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, they lost so many players. They're trying to make up for it, but I think they ended up overpaying. All right, another big signing, Matt Zuccarello to the Wild for 5 years, $6 million. I see a lot of people sort of sleeping on the Wild, but the Wild are certainly not acting like they're rebuilding. They're trying to get better, and they added Zuccarello. What are your thoughts on this deal?
5 years for a 31-year-old. It's not a confusing deal because I do think Zuccarello could be worth $6 million if he played like he did near the end of Dallas. But 5 years for a guy that's 31. I think at max I would have thought 3 because He's 30 years old, and some players enter the wrong side of 30. So I'm not too sure and about Segura, and I don't know where he's gonna play because the Wild has a bunch of young players now because they
Donato, that's a nice.
they traded a lot of their core. Well, I would say a lot of the core, but they traded a couple key players up and down like Gramlin and Coyle. So I don't think, honestly, I don't really see Zuccarello being a nice fit there. I know they got Hartman, who I think is a good sign for the bottom six, but this could end up being a really bad deal in a couple years for the Wild. And just in my opinion, because I don't know who's gonna play there. Maybe Koivu and Parise. Does he play with a guy like Erickson next and have to sign yet? Like, I don't know. Stahl's still there. He had a 40-goal season a couple seasons ago, but we're not too sure how he's going to do this upcoming season because he's like, what, 35, 36? So, we'll see how it's grow, but I think that's really going to end up bad.
I like the money for him because he had 40 points in only 48 games last season. But I do agree. I think you were sort of implying that I think the term is too long. I think at that age. But, the Wild, it seems like they're going for it, which a lot of people would find questionable as to why they're going for it when they haven't shown signs. But, the Blues missed the playoffs last year and then won the Cup. Maybe the Wild think they'll do the same thing. So I guess we'll see what happens there. All right, another signing. There were still, more signings to go over. I want to talk about Anders Lee. It looked like, especially when the Islanders were really in on Panarin, it looked like Lee was gone for sure. But he ends up re-signing 7 years, $7 million, $49 million total. What's your thoughts?
For Lee, I don't think the Islanders going to lose their captain back to back all seasons, but I had a feeling when they lost on Panarin. I think I had a feeling that Lee was going to go back to the Islanders. I know he had offers from Chicago and Dallas and all these places, but to me, he seems like an Islanders guy. I don't like 7 mil, but I do think the term is good, and that's all I really have to say about that. Lee, was their best forward. I think he played with Barzone everywhere. That line was amazing during the playoffs. So great term, a bit too much money. Would like to see somewhere in the 6.5 range, but good on the Islanders for keeping him.
Yeah, and I think that the Islanders, I don't know, I think the Islanders are going to regress next year just because even though they had a really good coach and I like their system, really stingy defense, I just don't see how they do what they did last year again when they didn't really improve. And let's talk, staying on the Islanders, they lose Leonard for a 1-year, $5 million deal to the Hawks. We'll talk about the Hawks angle in a second. And then they bring in Varlamov at the same cap hit, $5 million for 4 years. To me, this is weird because to me it seems like he's not as good of a goalie for longer at the same cap hit. Can you explain, your thoughts on this? It doesn't make sense to me.
I think that the Islanders probably wanted Leonard short-term deal. I think I read something about Islanders offering 5 mil for 2 years, and Leonard rejected that. But it is really confusing. The Hawks obviously, Crawford has a lot of health issues, so I think they're bringing in Leonard to be a one. This whole situation is confusing because, in my opinion, I don't think Varlamov isn't that good anymore. He really struggled this season with the Avs, and of course the field last season. So Grubauer just stepped up, and about Laner, I'm not too sure if he's gonna have the same season. Cause yeah, he was amazing with the Islanders, but you're playing under Barry Trotz, who's a really defensive coach, so you're gonna have a good defensive team in front of you. And I'm not too sure about the Hawks because you have Duncan Keith, and that's it. they traded Henry Yokiharu, which, in my opinion, is a boneheaded move. Yeah, they're probably thinking Nylander's going to be the next Dylan Strome, which I don't see that at all. And, Seabrook isn't even that good anymore. And, I just don't see Laner panning out there. And it's low risk. It's 1 year, but, I think they're really betting on Laner because I don't think Crawford's really going to be that healthy because, he has concussion issues. If he gets another concussion, that could be it for his career. And, they didn't bring back Cam Ward. They traded away Forsling. They're really banking on Laner to be the goalie he was. And I just can't see it with the defense they have.
Yeah, here's what I think. Honestly, I think Leonard is good, but I think that he played in a very good system because he didn't just have a bounce back year, so did Grice. So I think that he has to regress somewhat from the really good year he had last year. I just think he has to regress. And I think the Hawks, the crazy thing about the Central is I think most of the teams improved over the offseason, but it's just going to be so hard, and two of them at least two have to miss the playoffs. So I guess we'll see what happens with Chicago. Now, there's a few other minor ones I don't really want to get into. Peter Mrazek resigns with the Hurricanes. Kerfoot with the Leafs, $3.5 million. Cody Ceci, $4.5 million, sort of an overpay. We'll get into Kerfoot in the trade in a little bit. I don't really want to get too into it. Let's talk about the offer sheet on Aho. What did you think about that? Montreal offer sheeting Aho and the Hurricanes matching the offer sheet.
Well, I never thought we would see an offer sheet again, but I do agree with some buzz about Montreal possibly doing something. Of course, we still need a number one center, and Bergeron's kind of smart because I think he was like a couple thousand short of paying like 2 first-round picks. He had to pay the one if it didn't get matched, but I never thought we would see an offer sheet again. And when I heard it, I was shocked. And I think people are skeptical about Carolina matching because it was like $21 million in bonuses paid in the first year, which is a lot for Carolina, especially their budget team. But they have Tom Dundon, but it was crazy. I was like, how? I just couldn't believe it. But we all knew that Carolina was going to match it, no matter what the price was. But with the amount of RFAs are still out there, like Marner and Point, don't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Montreal took another run at the auction because they still have cap, and they still have a lot of draft picks. But that offer sheet just made the whole free agent frenzy better because we haven't seen one in a long time. I think since O'Reilly in 2013, and it was just crazy. And of course, we know the only option that was signed was just Henry Edmonton, but we knew Carolina was going to match it, but no much of a headline for like a week or two.
Yeah. All right. We do want to keep it going, but I do want to just briefly say I think the real winner from that offer sheet is Aho because I don't think Carolina wanted him to get a 5-year deal. I think they wanted to sign him long term, and Aho gets to be a UFA at the end of that deal. He took a little less than he could have, but he's going to get a big payday, and hopefully for Carolina they can re-sign him. Otherwise, he's going to be he'll be a very highly touted free agent. But I just want to say for all of the Habs fans who are saying stupid shit, stuff like, oh, we bankrupted their franchise. This new owner is a billionaire, and he has no problem paying $42 million for his team's best forward. So just stop. Just stop. All right. A few more. So Jordan Binnington after an outstanding playoffs and just stealing Game 7 from Boston, re-signs with the Blues, 2 years, $4.5 million per. What are your thoughts?
What I'm gonna say is that he got less than Koskinen.
Yeah, that's funny. He and both were RFAs, right? Or was Koskinen UFA?
Costco's like 31.
So I could see then why he got less, but still, he definitely did a lot more.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Jacob Trouba, 7 years, $8 million per with the Rangers. What are your thoughts on this one? A big deal.
It's a great, it's a lot of money for Trouba, and I have mixed feelings because I think Trouba can play like an $8 million defenseman, but at the same time, he had around 55 points, I want to say, and yeah, he's gonna play on a great team. Well, play. You can argue a bit less talented than Winnipeg, but you Trouba obviously wants to make big bucks. He asked a lot of money last year when he was in arbitration for Winnipeg, but Trouba is Trouba at best is a 60-point guy. I don't see him reach 70, but the price people are paying the price he's been paying for defensemen nowadays. I guess it can be terrible, but it's a bit too much though.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it might be too much now, but I think he's young, and I think by the end of this contract, as the cap keeps going up, he'll still be pretty good, and I think it'll be the money won't be as bad. So, Neil Pionk, 2 years, $3 million with the Jets. The other side of that trade, which we will talk about if we haven't already. I can't remember if we talked about that before or after. I think no, we talked about that already in our last podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so Neil Pionk, what are your thoughts on that deal?
It's a really underrated deal because I think so you're still getting back a good defenseman in Pionk. He's still a right-hand guy. He can play on your power play unit, and yeah, he won't be as good as Trouba, but I think he had around 30 points on a bad Rangers team. A young guy that got 30 points on a rebuilding team is still decent for Winnipeg. Yeah, Winnipeg lost a lot of pieces, but if he's gonna get power play time and play with a guy like Morrissey, he should be able to get 30 points again. So $3 million isn't a lot, and the 2-year deal is nice. I really think people are overreacting about Pionk.
Yeah, what I think about the Pionk deal is that the whole trade overall, I think the Jets lost this trade, but they did have to clear cap space. Trouba didn't want to play there, and I do agree with you. I think it's a nice deal. He can prove himself and get a bigger extension if they can afford him, but for the next 2 years, he'll be a nice piece on that blue line. One more deal I want to go over, a really weird contract. Colton Sissons, 7 years, $2.86 million.
I like, the turn. I don't get the 7 years part.
Yeah, I'm so confused.
Nationals done this in the past. I think he did the same thing Yonkers, 6 years for $2 million, something like. I don't get why you're extending a guy who had his best career season yet, which was 30 points, and he gets a 7-year extension. 3 would be okay, maybe 4, but I don't get the 7 years part. 2.85 is a good amount of money, but I don't know what Boyle's thinking here though.
Yeah,
something we're missing.
I also don't really know what Sissons is thinking, because if he's a consistent, if he can improve his consistency, he could have earned, if he signed a 2-year deal, he could have earned a lot more in a future contract. So I guess it's long-term security for him, but you rarely see 7-year deals for this little amount of money. So I just thought that was an interesting contract, There were a few other minor moves. Sam Bennett, who I don't like for his hit on C-Mac, still salty about it, is a complete bust and signed a $2.55 million per year 2-year deal. I'm not gonna get into that. Just had to throw it out there that he's a bust. All right. Now we're gonna let's.
Actually, can I just bring one more thing?
Oh yeah.
Here's the deal. There's another deal that doesn't really make sense for me. Obviously we know about Myers, which I think is an okay dude for Vancouver, but Brandon Tannen in Pittsburgh's a pretty bad deal too. They're signing a guy in the bottom six for 6 years at 3.5 for Pittsburgh. Like, you already have two terrible contracts with Johnson and Branson. Are you adding a guy that gets 20 points a year to a $3.5 million cap hit? Like, I just don't get that.
Yeah, I thought a lot of Penguins fans were really upset about it. So yeah, I think that it was not a good deal. Speaking of the Penguins, let's move into trades. We actually released our podcast on the 29th. We recorded it on the 28th. Or no, I think I released it even later than the 29th actually. But we recorded on the 28th, and on the 29th, the Kessel trade broke.
Yeah.
So we did not get to cover it. So just read it out. I'll read it out right now. Kessel, Dane Burks, who's in the AHL, I believe, and a fourth to Arizona for Galchenyuk and Pierre-Olivier Joseph, who is, he's not just a nobody. I think he is actually a prospect that people like. So what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think we knew for the longest time there's one destination Kessel loves to go to. It was Arizona. Like, he loves it down there. Loves their talking. So I wasn't surprised that he would be going to Arizona. And of course, you knew that Pittsburgh liked Galchenyuk. But, I think Kessel's going to be great for Arizona. Schmaltz will come back healthy. He played amazing there. People seem to forget about that before he got injured. Now, for me, Joseph for me is a top 4 defenseman. I can see him being that. But Galchenyuk is tricky. This is his third team in 3 years. He wasn't good in Montreal. He was playing on the fourth line in Arizona. So, if you're Pittsburgh, you play with a guy like Malkin, because I see Gensel, Crosby, McCann staying in the same first line. But, I honestly just see Galchenyuk going to free agency next year. Because I don't think, of course, he has lived up to the expectations he was supposed to have, a 50 goal scorer and getting lead forward, but he was really disappointed throughout his career. And I don't think Pittsburgh is a right fit for him. I know he wants to be there, but, just the way he's been trending the past couple years, I don't like it. And if the Penguins are more of a cap crunch, they probably need to trade away a guy who's probably be about to do that. So I don't know how good Galchenyuk's gonna do there. I think Kessel, we all know he probably will be an 80-point, well maybe not 80-point guy, but he's gonna bring some goal score to Arizona. But I don't know what Galchenyuk will do for Pittsburgh. Yeah, they need speed, but you're not gonna get the same production out of Galchenyuk that you get of Kessel. So I don't like the deal for Pittsburgh, and I don't think Galchenyuk will be a Penguin in the 2021 season.
Yeah, I actually disagree here, and I think I agree with Kessel. He was going to go to Arizona, and I actually think that's going to be big for them because they were good last year. They had injuries, but they made a push late and almost made the playoffs. But I think what they've been missing is a star. They never really had a big star on their team last year, and I don't really consider Ekman Larson that much of a big star. And I think he sort of, could be better. But Kessel is a big star. I think Arizona will be a lot better with them. But I think Galchenyuk will do well in Pittsburgh. I think if they put him with Malkin, which I could see, or even someone else, I think he's going to improve. And if he doesn't improve, then I think we can admit he's a bust. Because if he can't, then this would be his third team, and I think if he doesn't perform well here, he probably won't perform well.
Right.
All right, let's do our next trade. There were a few minor ones. I don't really want to get into it. I guess we can talk about the Kadri trade. So Leafs trade Kadri, Calle Rosen, and a third to the Avs for Tyson Barrie with 50% retained, Kerfoot, and a sixth.
So, I know we had different opinions on this trade. I don't see why Colorado's retained the 50% on Barrie. I guess so they can help Toronto in their cap situation. But, okay, so Kerfoot's probably the third line center in Toronto. Kadri's easily that second line center. You'll get 60 points, I would assume. But Carr replaces Barrie. I don't know if Rosa makes a team, but Toronto. I think Barry's probably a rental for them. I would assume because he's going to command a lot of money for the agency, and the Leafs basically win this trade. They add a stud top for a defenseman, top two, I should say, and Kerfoot's not bad either. 40 points. Yeah, I know he played top 6 minutes. He played in the kin sometimes, but the Leafs, basically you can argue got it better, and the Avs, basically lost nothing if you really think about it. But I like the trade for Toronto. Well, Colorado, I guess it kind of makes sense with the amount of cap they have, but
yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of on the fence on this trade. I think Colorado wins the trade. Now Kerfoot only had 2 points less than Kadri, so I sort of view it. Kadri is older and he played only 73 games, so I do think Kerfoot's going to be really nice for the Leafs. But Barrie, I don't get why they got him, and let me say why. Because he's not going to stay after free agency. I just don't think they can afford him. Unless the cap goes up by a lot or they somehow clear a bunch. And if he doesn't stay, I think they lose the trade. Because I don't think they're in any business getting a rental because I think they have zero chance of winning the cup. So if you're not going to win the cup, what's even the point? So I don't think they should have got it. Retaining salary, I don't think it's a problem. It's not that much money. I don't think the deal happens if they don't retain salary, and I don't think the deal happens if the Avs don't retain salary, and it's only 1 year. So we'll see how that turns out, but I think that they're probably gonna win. All right. I think Colorado probably wins the trade. All right, now the blockbuster trade, the biggest trade of the offseason. The Oilers acquire James Neal. The Flames acquire Milan Lucic and a conditional third. What are your thoughts on the trade?
I just can't believe it. We got rid of Lucic, probably the worst contract in the league. And let me explain. So we retained, I think it's 750K on Lucic. So do the math. Lucic and Neal's contract 250 parts, so it's about 500K more, and that so Edmonton really gains a 500K cap, but I love this trade. Lucic is not playing the top 6. He's probably not playing for the Flames third line. He's a fourth line forward, probably maybe even a scratch. And the thing is, that conditional third is, I think, if Neal scores 21 goals and Lucic gets less than 10 goals or less than Neal, which probably will happen. And, Edmonton gets the goal scorer they need. They needed a goal scorer winger for McDavid, and this will allow Draisaitl to finally play that second line center spot. You push Nuge back to third line, and that's your 1-2-3 punch. Yes, the wingers are still a bit off. They're still pretty bad, but you're adding probably a guy that can easily bounce back. Neil played Jankowski and Sam Bennett, for most of the year. He never really got time with Sean Monahan or Backlund. And Neil's a top 6 guy in my opinion. Yeah, he probably isn't as fast as he used to be, but he still has a nice shot. Him and McNeil work out this summer, and Neil has a better chance of bouncing back than Lucic. The thing is, if Neil does still suck, we can buy out his contract. His bio is like what 9.9 something, and Lucic is basically buyout proof. So even Neil does suck, we buy him out, we still save cap. It's a win-win essentially for Edmonton. And I just can't believe that Lucic had a 20-point season, was even tradable. Because the fact that a couple of seasons ago he had 36 points, I was like, oh my god, how are we going to trade this guy? I'm so happy that somehow Ken Holland traded Lucic. His first trade as November was trading Lucic, and know that he's made every Oilers fan happy. I think every fan of them is starting to love Holland right now.
Yeah. Honestly, I have no idea what Calgary gets from this deal. Why do it? Neil never got an opportunity to play on the top line in Calgary. Now, last year was definitely concerning, so I can understand why Calgary would want to get rid of Neil. Why get rid of someone who's a problem on the cap just to get someone else who's worse? Now, they do lose $500,000 because Edmonton retained salary, so they get a little cap relief. But like you said, buyout-proof contract on Lucic, and pretty much no chance that he becomes, what he used to be. I think Neil could rebound. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think this is a big win for the Oilers. And now one more trade, absolute blockbuster that just happened today. The Penguins acquire John Marino from the Oilers, from Brockton, Massachusetts, from the Oilers for a conditional 6th. Huge trade.
Yeah, Marino wasn't going to sign here. He played with Fox at Harvard. Marino's just a shutdown guy. He's probably a number 7 at best. Edmonton basically gets I honestly am doing this if they want to dump a contract like Manning and Brodziak, so at least they have another pick to do so. That's all I really see. Marino was going to sign, but yeah, I was expecting it to do something today. I woke up and said we trade Marino. I was like, okay, that's amazing.
Yeah. All right. And that, I think that's pretty much it. And if there's anything else you want to say, we'll talk about it now. And I have a quick announcement, and then we'll wrap up the podcast.
I think all I want to say is that I'm surprised that guys like Gardner and Brassard haven't even signed yet.
Yeah, that is surprising. And, all the RFAs, I thought Montreal or New York Islanders would offer sheet Point or Marner, but they haven't so far.
But I do think Columbus has thought about the idea of offer Marner. And if they do, that basically makes up the loss of Panarin right there.
Can they, though? Do they have the picks? Because you have to have all 4 picks for the next years. And didn't they trade their firsts?
I think they kept in 2020 because...
Oh, they have him. Never mind.
I think they're fine. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I would love to see them have an offer sheet, but we'll find out. It is surprising that so many are still unsigned. All right. So that'll be it for the podcast. I hope you enjoyed. One more announcement. I'm going to be... hold on. I wanted to briefly talk about the Calgary Arena situation, but I'm actually just going to talk about... This has to do with my announcement. I'm making a second channel called Stadium Source, where I pretty much talk about all issues relating to arenas, not just in the NHL, but just all across sports. So that's going to be on my second channel. I'll be linking it in the description of this video as soon as it's up. If you watch 5 Point Vids, he pretty much does very brief videos about... he does videos about a bunch of stadiums and talks about each one for about 2 minutes. I would be making videos like that, but a lot more in-depth analysis about the history and stuff going on about that. So if you're interested in that, make sure to check it out. And that's going to wrap up the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to check out Shaden. All of his information will be in the description. We'll be back at some point in August. I'm
Probably when the NBC schedule comes out, because it usually comes around that time.
Yes, I'm going to be away until at least the 10th of August. So you're away
and
when?
I'm away, I think, until the 8th, so
Yeah, so
I'm guessing middle of August.
yeah, middle to late August will be when our next podcast is up. I hope you enjoyed this one. During the regular season, hopefully we'll be able to do, a bit more frequently if we have time. Definitely, the one you should look forward to is our September one. We'll have our predictions and stuff. So with that said, hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.